right, we are live. Welcome everybody. It is our meetup on Zoom. We call it our Zoom Up. We're glad you're all here. And my name is Michael Huggins. I'm going to be your host today, coming to you live from Tennessee. I got my co-host, Chicago. What's up, Scott?
What's up, man? Good to see you. You look beautiful. Your son looked great. I saw him there. Beard's growing out a little bit.
Yep. Hanging out in the woods.
Hey, did you see any more critters out there? You had 3 bears last week, or your neighbor told you.
The neighbor rumored that there are 3 bears. You guys got to watch out when you're in the hills of Tennessee.
If you guys don't know, this young man here used to work at Lube at 22 years old and found this group, and now he's sitting on 265 acres. He lives out in Tennessee. He hasn't even seen his whole backyard yet. In fact, he found a car in his backyard and a cabin in his backyard, checking it out. So.
Yep, I just go on wandering around. I have found about 80 tires also scattered about. I think maybe I'll uncover a school bus or something here. Who knows?
You should be like you should take your little your little 4-wheeler, just go like on a grid pattern, like an archaeologist on your own ground. Map it out.
Stories of transformation, folks.
We should get a helicopter.
We are so blessed and highly favored. So the whole idea behind this video series, which I think today is episode 60 or 61, we are just packing them in. We have an amazing process that we take people through so that they can embrace the idea of real estate investing as a way for them to pay for their bills, create a lifestyle for themselves, and pass on a legacy. And it's not just working for me, it's working for all kinds of people. Scott, will you tell the folks a little bit about how you got introduced?
Yeah, real quick here. Was making $212,000 as a vice president in charge of 4 states and sales happening in that 4 states. Is all I could say. I worked for $212 a year, and they worked it out of me. So lots of problems. Lost that job. Subsequently lost the places to live. My wife and I were looking for something. She found it. I told her it was going to be a scam. She dragged me down to a meeting with this group. Here's the point. Kid you not. I met a 20-something art teacher who had 22 properties paying him rent. He didn't have to go to work anymore. So that was my model. More money coming in than going out. No job. That's all I wanted, right? That was peace of mind. Today, we're fortunate to be partnered up on 79 properties, and it's a lot of fun. Big difference, and nice commercial space. We've helped over 15,000 people around the country start their careers too, including this man right here, Alex. I think he stepped into this building first to see this whole organization.
Awesome. Yeah, he's definitely dedicated to his craft. And so the whole premise behind this, folks, is after you get this video done, you're going to either want to go watch some past episodes, get inspired, but more importantly, get on one of our intros, our house tours, or a workshop. We got a big workshop coming up this Saturday. Everybody on the line needs to be there. Unless you're having a baby or getting married, you need to be there. All right. It is by invitation only. It's not open to the public. So you need to get back with the person that got you here to get that private registration link, and we will hook you up. It is going to be a jam-packed day, so pay attention. And then, of course, everyone knows real estate has its own risks. So please get educated, surround yourself with professionals, and because there's so much potential out there, but if you don't do it right, you could also lose big time. So just that caveat out there. All right, now let us transition now to our guest for today. So Scott, you want to tell the folks a little bit about our guest?
I will. This man, again, a veteran. So we've got lots of veterans that do well, and probably because they've gotten that victim mentality shaken out of them in boot camp, right? So they're like, I'm ready to take what I learned from the service and bring it to something and achieve missions. And this guy's he's no different. He came down to this very building. I think it was the first time he experienced this whole thing. And he had lots of great ideas. He went out to Kansas to help other people, like we're helping people here in Chicago. Just did it like a mission. Today, I think he's got 17 short-term rentals. So please help me welcome Mr. Alex Repsholdt, everybody.
Mr. Alex!
Where is he? Come on out, buddy. You gotta say something. Is he muted?
No, it says he's not muted on my end.
All right. Sorry, my fault. So I'll just tell my story, right?
Yeah, just tell us how you got started. Like, what were you doing before you got started? When you saw it, what'd you think?
Okay, yeah, that's easy. All right, so before I met you, Scott, and before I met our community, before I came into this room that you're behind right now, that was the first room I was in. That's exactly right. It was Jay who was giving the presentation. I had just lost $100,000 investing in my dad's company.
Wow.
And yeah, it was pretty extreme. And I had a vision for myself at a very young age that I, become a certain person, and I was following that, that process. Right out of college, out of 22, I started working. I was living in my parents' basement. And the only thing that was exciting about my life was that I was saving all my money, and it was going into my savings account. And being the good son that I was investing in my dad's company because he had lost his job in 2009, and he was starting something. And I didn't really know anything about investing, but I did trust my dad. Well, his company didn't work out, and at that point, I was $100,000. I had given $100,000 to him over the course of 3.5 years. So the epiphany that I had from that moment was that I needed to learn how to invest money. There's two people in this world. There's people that they work their entire lives giving money to people who invested for them, and I was like, I just want to be that person from now on. I don't really care about other people's money. I just want to learn how to invest my own money. So I remember Googling. I Googled wealth building through real estate, and that is how I ended up in your building, Scott.
Awesome. So you had saved
That's how I ended.
You saved $100,000 as a serviceman. You were a captain. Were you a captain in the Army?
No. Well, so to give you an idea, I was in the reserve.
Okay.
So right out of college, I had ROTC put me through college. I didn't have any student debt, thank God. But I studied biology, and I ended up in transportation. You know how that works, right? It just makes perfect sense. So, and then I worked 3.5 years, waking up at 4 a.m., getting home around 10 p.m. And then I would give my weekends to the military. Like every weekend I was working as well. So It literally was a 7-day week schedule, and going home, living in my basement. I would get home at 10. The dinner would already be in the oven. My family already knew. They just put it there, and I would eat it. It'd be warm. It'd be night out. And then I would go sleep, and then do it all over again. And being in the Army as a lieutenant at the time, I would go to drill. It'd be once a month, but there'd be a lot of stuff I'd be doing on the weekends for my drill that was coming up. And I had the only thing exciting about my life was that I was saving all this money and hopefully investing it wisely. Well, I didn't.
All right, so let's say you joined the group. How old were you when you joined this group? You said 22 was the time you actually.
I was 26 at the time, I believe.
Okay, so 26 you joined the group. And how fast? Now this is something we ask everybody. How fast between you joining the group to your first deal?
11 months.
11 months, which is a great. There are some people that spend all their lives and want to do a deal. They'll even go invest in stuff at a hotel, and they never do a deal, right? So that's awesome.
It was a seller financed transaction. I bought a duplex with $8,000, and the owner financed the rest.
That's awesome, bro. So nobody checked your credit.
No one checked my credit, and then the next year it appraised $40,000 higher than what I had bought it for.
That's beautiful, bro. See, and that's how you lose $100,000, and you're like, all right, let me just do one.
I slowly started getting it back.
Let's deal with one $8,000 down. I get $40,000 back in equity with the appreciation.
Yeah.
Plus cash flow. Plus my tenants are taking care of the bills. It's awesome. All right, so here's why I hit you up. You're in Kansas. Talk about, it's a very popular strategy right now, this short-term rental stuff. And
it's very popular.
And here's also why I got you on. You are at a job right now, right? So you still have a job.
Yes, I'm in the lunchroom.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So guys, I want anybody watching this, people that think, well, I got a job, so I can't do stuff. This young man has put together 17 short-term rentals and still has a job. So I think that's good. So talk about your daily business. So you have a job. What are your hours like, and how do you fit in real estate into that?
So I actually have 3 jobs right now.
Wow.
So during my full-time job with the W-2 is with a company called Swift Transportation, and they're the largest trucking company in the United States. I think they have, I don't think they have business in Mexico as well. So that's a 7 to 4 schedule Monday through Friday. And then sometimes I have to work on the weekends too. And then my second job is with the Army. I'm a captain in the Army Reserve. And then my third job is with my business.
There you go.
So to put very simply, so
you're just addicted to busy. That's what I get from Alex. You know what? That's going to be busy.
I have goals in my life, and I want to achieve them in the shortest time frame possible.
Attaboy.
Nice.
Yeah, okay.
That's just really comes down to it.
Okay, so you got a job and you got reserves and you manage a rental. So for people on the line here, I want you to, you're sitting down with somebody on the line here. So I got a job. How's this guy doing it? I got to fit something into my schedule. How do you manage that?
Absolutely. So, you know, Mike actually taught me this. Mike's who was on the line. I you know,
Michael Huggins?
Michael Huggins. That's right.
The
So
guy with the beard in Tennessee.
We go through these cycles in life, and there was a point in my life where I was not working a W-2. When I moved out to Kansas, I left a job, and that job was that year was a great self-discovery year. I actually flew out to Salt Lake City. I was there for a regionals event. So if you are just getting exposed to this community, there's events that happen all around the country, and they're actually very inexpensive. That regional event was like only $100, $150, I think. So I decided to go to that because there were some people in Salt Lake City who were approaching things differently than what I had experienced in Chicago. So I decided that it was worth the time, went there, and I got an invitation by Michael to come to his event. And mind you, at the time I was living in Kansas City, and he lived in Salt Lake City, and the event was going to be in Salt Lake City. And this event that I'm talking about was like, I think 8 straight weeks of sales and marketing training. And at the time, Michael was the guy to go to. He was like just the number one guy to talk to and records those subjects. So, and I did not have access to that where I lived. So I just very spontaneous decided that I would do that. And I had to put down I think a $200 deposit, and I bought my tickets for the next 8 weeks to go to his training. And I remember posting on the Salt Lake City page, and there, because there's a community out there, and there's a Facebook group associated with that community, is to, hey, I just did this. Can anyone help me get some discounts on flights and maybe pick me up from the airport? And it was just a huge community outpour. I got to stay with someone for the 8 weeks that I flew down there. There was another guy, his name was Dean, out of that community. He somehow got me discounts on all my flights. And then I got rides to and from the airport for all 8 weeks. And Michael taught me, he gave me this little book, and I have it every year. I buy this little planner, and I go through and I schedule my day down to 15 minutes. And I know you could do better than 15 minutes, but I've always scheduled my day down to 15 minutes, everything I'm going to do, everything that I'm going to accomplish. And I start with my most important goals first. I don't always get everything done, but as long as I'm getting my most important things done, I'm progressing. And that's what people need to remember. And if you are in a position where you are just working crazy hours, just remember, if you always just get that most important thing done per day, you'll start to progress your life in the way you want it to. I hope that answers your question, Scott.
It does. And I got another one. The other one is, okay, so on the 17 doors that you have today, how did you pick that strategy? Because some people are fixing flips when they come here. Some people are buy and hold, right? Like myself. Some people are notes, right? So why short-term rentals?
Great question. So, and this is coming from someone, before I got into short-term rentals, I had flipped 2 properties, and I had 2 buy and hold deals too. So I had 4 deals under my belt before I went into short-term rentals. And here's what I have to say about that. I made money in fix and flip. I lost money in a fix and flip. I realized early on that if I made an oops on a fix and flip, I was going to lose money. If I made an oops on a buy and hold, I would just hold on to the buy and hold until I made my money back. So I like the fact that I could do that with buy and hold. The thing about buy and hold is that I wasn't making a lot of money per month, and I wanted to somehow increase that. So, and essentially, I enjoyed cash flow more than I enjoyed the lump sum. And I found the solution in short-term rentals, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what's your
short-term rentals? I can make more cash flow.
Okay. So you're saying that. Okay. Sorry.
What is your average cash flow per door? Have you figured that out?
Yes. So I specialize in studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms. So, and I say that because if you have a mansion, your door is bigger. You're hopefully getting more cash flow. But my average per unit is about $500 net. That is my average. And our instructor who teaches our classes, he tries to get 800. I haven't been able to do that yet. I don't know why, but 500 is what I've been getting. And to put that in 12-month perspective, it's about 6,000 a year per unit.
Right on.
Okay. So that there's math. Now this is what I love about it. This is exactly why I started, right? I don't know why Michael started. He's an intellect, so I probably started the same reason. But math is math, right? Hey, if I can have more money coming in from the rentals than going out, then I don't have to fight traffic, right? It became that math, and I like the way you think.
Yeah,
Awesome.
now you're just multiplying. That's impressive, man, because it always starts with one, and it seems like a lot of people get really scared just on one, but here you are at 17. Where do you see yourself going for 2021?
2021, actually, I'm focusing a lot more on my systems because I'm duplicating myself, if that makes any sense. So I was the CEO doing a lot of work in 2019, 2020. Now I have a CFO, I have a chief operations officer, I have a chief systems officer, and I'm trying to bring on a chief marketing officer because my goal here is to create a system that grows itself so that I can move on to the next project. And one of the things that's very passionate in my heart that I had to step away from to focus in 2020 is getting back to helping people get to the point where I am from in the same way that I've started. So exposing people to our great community, getting them the resources, getting them to training. I want to ultimately, I'd like to become an instructor for our community too. So so that's what I want to do moving forward, and I'm getting very close to doing that. So it's
Nice.
exciting.
Well, you're on the right track because most of the instructors we work with today actually grew up the way we did. We all took classes, right? So
They did, yes,
yeah,
they did. So
hopefully
I can.
It's great to get
and
back.
maybe
Yeah.
hopefully is not the right word, but yeah, be happy to provide the same value that I sponged earlier in my career, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Way
All
cool.
right,
So, yeah, what would you say is one of your biggest obstacles when it came to getting involved? Because you, if I understand correctly, you already had saved up all that money and shown that you could save money. Then it went away. Now here we are saying, "Hey, join us, do what we're doing." What was your biggest obstacle?
That's a good question.
Maybe there wasn't.
If I think about that,
I mean, let's think about this. You came to a meeting, right? I mean, did you go,
yeah,
I'm in, or was there some milling around the brain? Was there some obstruction up there? If there wasn't, then there wasn't.
well, when you stick around our community long enough, you start to understand different personality types, and we have this great system called Drive, and you'll learn a little more about that. And I'm what you would call an executive. So when I saw the opportunity that was presented for me, the resources that are in the community, the resources that are in the education, it was pretty much a no-brainer for me because I knew myself, I knew my work ethic, that I would just watch classes. And the community had the resources for me to build partnerships to get into the real estate that I needed. So and people will say this, that the real obstacle is knowledge and relationships, not money. And for some reason on that first meeting, I could see that very clearly. So it didn't take me very long to jump into it and start watching the classes. I mean, I came down on a Thursday, I came back on a Friday, I bought on the Friday, and then I started watching the classes that week, and I watched, I think, all the essential classes, which was like 9 classes, I believe, in the first 2 weeks. So, and then I started moving on. So as far as obstacles go, the biggest obstacle occurred to me when I moved to Kansas City, which was, I think, 4 months later after I started, because in that setting, there wasn't a community present. So I had to start building all my relationships from scratch. And there were a lot of people in Kansas City who did not know how to work as collaboratively as what I've exposed to in Chicago. So like in Chicago, you run into the meeting and there's a lot of people there that are really ready and able to help you. And in Kansas City, there's different, it's a different vibe. There's a lot of RIAs, and there's an air of caution. So and I think that was my biggest obstacle for that first year when I arrived in Kansas City, was really just building my team and building my network, which took some time. But once I had that credibility, and if you're wondering how to build credibility, if you show people your work ethic, they will follow you. They don't care about money. They don't care about any of that. They just care about who you are as a person. Once I had that, I grew pretty quickly. So that would be my biggest obstacle.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question. So.
It's a great question, a great answer. And I think that that says something. You know, we have people all over the country. I've got somebody in every state that has actually started with this community since I've started back in 07. So including Puerto Rico. So it's been fun to watch. And yeah, I think you just hit on something, because there are people that may see one of our webinars and go, well, I'm in Des Moines and I got nobody around me. That was good for them to hear right there. Right.
And for those people who, like, if you don't have a local community with you, I will tell you that all of my deals have been funded by people still within our community.
Got a question along that same vein. Okay, you said something very important about Kansas. There are a lot of RIAs out there. Okay, now I see a huge difference between a RIA and what we do.
Oh yeah.
Can you kind of express that? What do you see? What's the difference between a RIA? They may say the same thing. Well, out here in Des Moines, we got plenty of RIAs. What's the difference between a RIA and what you've experienced in this community?
The people who are running the RIAs are very defensive about their community, and you know, and I understand that. But here's the challenge that RIAs have. They operate. They're a business. So when you enter a RIA for the first time, they spend a large portion of the meeting introducing their sponsors and vendors, and it's essentially it's a sales pitch. And there's nothing wrong with the sales pitch. The RIA leaders are handpicking those people based off of their relationships, but that doesn't mean they're the best person for you. And one of the big differences is that because our community is very focused on education and building your own relationships. Whenever I went to our groups, like we had study groups, that was what the focus was. Like you could still hang around to build your own relationships afterwards or beforehand, but the purpose of our community was to educate. And in a RIA, there's never enough time to do that. Most of them meet monthly, and a lot of times after the monthly events, they would sponsor a Saturday where basically a small or regional guru would come in. And nothing wrong against the gurus, but they're coming in to sell a product. And our community, once you're in, you didn't have to go out and keep buying products. The education worked, and there was a lot of synergy because everyone was taking the same classes and learning the same systems. Another thing from people in the RIA, you don't know what they have watched. Like in our community, you could tell pretty quickly if they've watched a certain class or attended a certain study group. You have to vet each and every person for their worth. Because let's talk about the fix and flip I lost money on. The contractor, which I had met at a RIA and hired based off of recommendations, I lost money because he didn't do a good job and I didn't know enough to vet him. Ultimately, I had to take personal responsibility because I didn't know enough and I blindly trusted. But that is a risk that you have with RIAs because you don't know who these people are, especially if you're coming in for the first time in a new city or a new state. You have to learn that. So
I'm gonna qualify that a little bit, because some of you might be watching this recording, and I think the difference is, again, you come and get introduced once, and then for the rest of your life, you're hanging out with other people doing deals, right? That's the idea, right? Like, all right, yep, here's what we go to an intro meeting, and then all of a sudden, all right, go over there and start working on your life. Go start using this stuff, right? And working on your life. And I think that's a huge difference I saw, because I saw RIAs before, right? I saw RIAs where they're like pitch every week. They're
always on to the next thing. And
There was no path. There was no path with RIA. That's the key. There was no path with RIA, but there was a path here. I saw. That's what I saw.
They're always going to fight there's always going to be a sales component and an educational component. And because there's always going to be that sales point, there's always going to be that necessary step to just continually enroll people is I think the issue.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a completely different model.
Yep. It is
and that's the best way I can describe it. It's different.
All right, Michael, you want to wrap this up? We have hit our
Sure.
Man. Well, I want to say congrats, Alex, and you've really made a big shift. You've impacted a ton of people. I hear good things from our community nationwide on interacting with you and how you pour back into them. So we want to thank you for that. And you don't, it's not like you're getting paid to do that. You're just helping because you're a helpful guy. And that's who we're being inside of our community. There is a big shift going from the boot camps and the gurus and the hotels. I fell into that same thing, the infomercials and the books, to then be able to come here and get that kind of support. And like Scott said, a path, right? Beginning to end. And so for you to do your first deal inside of a year and then keep it going, man, congratulations. So we hope to have you back on another episode here at the end of the year so you can tell us how it went. And folks, it is now time for you to get back with the person who invited you here. There's an intro, a house tour, and a workshop. You need to come see the mechanics, the step-by-step process behind what we do to help people transform and get on that path to success. It takes work. There's responsibility involved here. But as our CEO loves to say, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And that's the major key here.
All right, so we got a little slight bonus section for all the people that are working with us. So you'll hang tight. If for some reason you like to be a part of those bonus sections, become one of us. So
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to end the recording now. Thanks for joining us, guys. Alex, I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much for your help. Stick around for a second.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and honor to be here.